Hey seniors, Father Jake here. I wanted to share a message with you as we start the fourth quarter. First and foremost, I want all of you to know that I'm praying for your class in a special way. All the Assumption student body is going to be affected by the uncertainty that our community faces. But I know that you, as seniors, are feeling this uncertainty more than most. As some of you have told me personally, you and your families are struggling to make decisions about day-to-day realities. And as seniors, there are many decisions and actions that in your future look very uncertain. Again, I'm praying for you, and a lot of people are going to be praying for you. And personally, I wish I could take away the uncertainty, but I can't. Given the magnitude and scope of COVID-19, there is no person or group that can answer the questions that are lingering in our hearts and minds right now. But again, we're praying for you, and if you need anything, please don't hesitate to contact me or any of the faculty members at Assumption. We're here to help. I also want to give you some ideas. In my life, I've gone through some uncertainty. Nothing like this, but I really think that there are some lessons I've learned in my life that I just want to share with you. And I guess how I want to do this is that for those who had my class last quarter know that I ended the class by having you create a top 10 list of the best advice that you'd give to freshmen coming into Assumption. So I'm going to call this Father Jake's top 10 list of tips on how to deal with uncertainty. And we'll begin with number 10. Number 10. Don't assume that the worst possible outcome will happen. I repeat, please don't assume that the worst possible outcome will happen. And I say this because some of us have the natural propensity, the natural desire to go to the worst possible scenario. And this is especially true in high stress situations. And I challenge you, instead of entertaining those thoughts, how about you ask yourself a different question? What can I do to make this situation better? What can I do to help myself and help others? And again, those are questions that help us to understand, hey, what is possible now? Because for many of us, the worst possible scenario is not going to happen. The worst possible outcome is not going to happen. So again, just ask yourself different questions, and you'll see that you'll be able to deal with the uncertainty better. So from number 10, we go to number 9, and they're related. Be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. Because many times in our lives, when uncertainty happens, we tend to become part of the problem with uncertainty, meaning that we just add to the uncertainty by being chaotic, by not helping. So again, in uncertainty, be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And especially with your families. Because if any of your family members are on the front lines of this, they too have our prayers and my prayers. But try to help out at home. Try to help out with family members. We are really limited in our abilities right now to reach out to people. But you, of all people, have the abilities to reach out through technology, through other means. So I know that you will be part of the solution, and you will not be part of the problem as we face COVID-19. Number 8, I challenge you to invest in yourself right now. And if you're unfamiliar with the term invest literally means that you're strategic in what you do. You invest in something. So you don't buy something randomly. If you invest in something, you look at it, you understand it, and you really believe in it. So right now, invest in yourself. Do some things that will help you to grow in all aspects of your life. Because regardless of what happens a few days from now, a few weeks from now, we're all going to come out of this and we're going to get back into life. and we're going to get back into life in a big way. So learn some skills, do some projects, get in shape, invest in yourself. And that will help us, again, be in a better position when all the restrictions are off. We're able to come back to classes, whatever we're doing in our life. And as you invest in yourself and think about that, my seventh piece of advice is this: try to invest in some good relationships now too. Meaning that we are going to have to be very, very intentional in how we communicate and relate with people right now. So if you're able to invest in some good relationships, that will help you immensely in the future. I think especially in the case of some of our friends right now. Who among you needs the most help? Who among you needs a little lift me up? Who among you is facing the most uncertainty? You know what? Invest in people, invest in those relationships. Because again, when the world starts right back up, having stronger relationships with each other is going to help as well. Now, my sixth piece of advice is not just coming from being a priest. It's just truthful. My sixth piece of advice is avoid any of the vices. Because when we have free time, sometimes what happens is that we do things that are bad for us. As you remember from last semester, a vice is a bad repeated habit. So again, the bad habits can't come into our lives now that we have extra time. So be intentional about avoiding those things. And again, as you invest in yourself, as you invest in others, how about you invest in some virtues? For example, maybe a virtue you can work on is listening. Maybe something that you can work on is being more present to people. Whatever it is, good habits. Work on those as well. But again, number 6, avoid the vices. Now, the fifth piece of advice comes just from the fact that we as humans are more resilient than we ever think. And I could tell you story after story of how people have come through some of the darkest days of their life and learn from it and grow from it, because again, we're more resilient than what we think. We're able to overcome things because God has given us graces and gifts beyond our understanding. It's just that when you're going through things, when you're going through the difficulties, you don't think you'll make it. But again, we as humans, by God's grace, are much more resilient than we think. So yes, we don't know the outcomes of some of these things, but as we look towards uncertainty, again, we got this. We're resilient. We can do this. But if you are really struggling, my fourth tip is that ask for help when you need it. And ask for help especially when you don't feel as if you're making much progress, if you don't think you are figuring things out. And help will be given to you. And yes, help looks a little bit different right now just because of how we're quarantined and how some of us are living our lives. But again, ask for it. As I said earlier, you are a resourceful generation. You can communicate other than being face to face in person. So ask for help. Reach out to each other. Be supportive. Again, I'm here. The faculty's here. Please, please, please just ask for help. And my third piece of advice gets to the point of it is okay to feel whatever you're feeling right now. As we talked about last semester, feelings are neutral. They're neither good nor bad. It's what we do with them that's good or bad. So if you feel sad, if you feel angry, if you feel lonely, if you feel afraid, it's okay. And furthermore, that's where maybe sometimes we need to ask for help. But again, we are resilient. We can pass through these things, but I just want to assure you that it's all okay to feel things because it is natural. And again, it's not good or bad. It's just what we do as a result of those feelings. And it will take some time for feelings to settle. So again, ask for help if you want. My second piece of advice to deal with uncertainty is that you got to set small goals now. Now, it's okay to still have big goals. I know some of you have really big goals. You want to go to grad school. You want to do amazing things with your life, and that's great. But while we're facing uncertainty, it is good just to set small little goals that help us to feel like we're accomplishing something in the face of uncertain things. And you'll have to look at what that looks like in your life. But as we kind of do our classes, one of the things that I would challenge those who have me in class this quarter is the following. One small goal is just do what's asked of you and do it quickly, and then you can move on to the next task. I know that seems small, but again, small goals help us to feel as if we're accomplishing things. And even if a small goal is just making your bed every day, if you never did it before, make your bed every day. Because again, it's been shown many times that small goals help us to feel like we're accomplishing bigger things. And my number one tip to deal with uncertainty is probably no surprise coming from me, but is you need to pray. And I know all of you are in different spots in terms of your faith life, but prayer, our personal relationship with God, the way through which we lift our hearts and minds to God, it does help immensely in times of uncertainty. Now, again, it may not take care of all of the feelings, but what prayer really does is it helps us to get outside of our own hearts and minds. And again, to truly lift our hearts and minds to our God who loves us and also is going to provide grace upon grace for us in the days and weeks to come. So let me recap real quick. My top 10 list of ways to deal with uncertainty. Number 10, don't assume that the worst possible outcome will happen. Number 9, be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. Number 8, invest in yourself. Number 7, invest in good relationships. Number 6, avoid the vices. Avoid the bad habits. Number 5, all of us are more resilient than what we think. Number 4, ask for help when you need it. Number 3, it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. Number 2, start setting smaller goals. And number 1, pray. And know of my thoughts and prayers for all of you, and know of many other people's thoughts and prayers for you.